saddens me again to appear in public with the Ellis family, with the Gomez family, with the Torres family, and all the families who have lost children to these rogue terrorist cops that you let still walk our streets and terrorize the public.
Just as the community in Bunkerville rallied around Cliven Bundy after snipers pointed weapons at people all week, and after several confrontations where the BLM agents got violent, in one case attacking a woman from behind and throwing her to the ground, the same sort of thing is now happening in Albuquerque, where an angry crowd showed up to a city council meeting threatening to arrest the sheriff, taking the seats of the city council. Now, in both cases, there was no violence committed by the public, but they clearly are fed up with the violence that's being committed against them. Why the people of Albuquerque fed up? Well, as we reported before, more people have been killed by their police department than by the New York City Police Department, even though New York City has 16 times the number of people. The violent history of the Albuquerque Police Department was brought to national attention about 5 weeks ago when a homeless man was shot to death for camping. And since then, in just the last few weeks, 3 more people have been shot and killed by the Albuquerque police, and 3 of the 9 people who are on the Police Oversight Committee have resigned in disgust at the way their oversight is being rejected by the city. Now, one of the 3 people that was killed in the last 5 weeks was 19-year-old Mary Hawks. Now, her case involved the search for a stolen pickup truck. Documents in the truck led them to Mary Hawks and to a trailer park. They conduct a 5 a.m. raid on this trailer park as if they're looking for a terrorist. They block access in and out of the trailer park. They announce on loudspeakers for no one to leave their homes, to shut their windows, and that they're going to release dogs. As 19-year-old Mary Hawks flees, she is shot dead by an APD officer. And there's no video to support his story that she pointed a gun at him. No video from the shooter's camera. No video from the officers with him. Now, it's surprising that there's no video of the incident because the APD is all about lapel cameras, having placed one of the highest dollar value orders for police cameras in the country, $2 million worth of cameras bought from Taser. And the former police chief, Schultz, who now works for Taser, is being investigated by a local news station for his cozy relationship with the company, while still police chief. Emails allegedly show the police chief being given speaking engagements and perhaps employment in exchange for influence peddling. He promises that he's going to grease things for Taser with the APD. What we're seeing now with the police industrial complex mirrors what we've seen for decades with the military industrial complex. That people who are high-ranking officers and who make purchasing decisions will then retire and go to work for the very companies that are military contractors. And make no mistake about it, Taser is a military contractor. It's the militarization of our police. And when we look at this state-of-the-art $2 million camera technology that they've sold them, how likely is it that there was no recording of this event? The capability to record an entire shift with only a 40% battery charge, with a 30-second buffer once he starts recording, even if he had it in standby, it makes it pretty hard to believe that he didn't really record this incident. Now, the current police chief, Chief Eden, stopped short of calling the lack of footage a malfunction and declined to say whether the officer told investigators that he turned the camera on or not. He says he's going to send it to the manufacturer for forensic analysis to see if it functioned properly. Who knows, maybe he can get former police chief Schultz, who now works for Taser, to help him with that forensic investigation. Don't hold your breath about a detailed investigation of yet another police shooting in Albuquerque. The problems there are long-lasting and systemic. And as we consider the militarization of the police and the creation of yet another profit center for the industrial military complex, as they turn our cities into war zones, the same way they did this trailer park where Mary Hawks was shot over a stolen truck. They were not hunting down a murderer. They were not hunting down a terrorist, but they were going to lock down the entire trailer park and use dogs going house to house searching. Are the American people in Bunkerville and Albuquerque beginning to realize who the real domestic terrorists are? Well, tonight is another meeting in Albuquerque at the City Council, and they have responded to what happened on Monday, not with reforms, but with new rules. Paul Joseph Watson points out the Albuquerque City Council leadership have imposed new rules and beefed up security in an attempt to prevent a repeat of extraordinary scenes on Monday. Now, one of the people there that was leading the protest said, "I wish they would have moved as quickly as they have regarding these changes on the question of APD violence." That's exactly it. Instead of saying, we're sorry, we're going to stop the police from terrorizing people on the streets, we're going to do something about it, instead they just say, shut up. And they double down on the police state. Now, as we pointed out in that report, a lot more people are shot in Albuquerque than in New York, even though New York has 16 times the population. But of course, in New York, they still love to do their beatings. And this is a story from Adon Salazar. We see, smile, you're on camera. Surveillance video catches a Long Island cops beating a man. Now, the irony of this is that it appears that the reason they were beating this young man is because they had pulled him over several times earlier and he had filmed them, wondering why he's being harassed. They threatened him and said, you do that next time and you're going to get a beating. Well, they made good on that threat. And as you can see, Kyle Howell, 20 years old from Westbury, was pulled over by the police, and as they're going through his car, he says his paycheck started to fly out the door. I went to go reach for it. The next thing you know, I got a knee to the face. The next thing I remember, I was in the hospital. And you can see the damage that happened. It's pretty amazing, the beating that he got. And his mother said at a press conference, he said, there was no mercy shown as they broke the bones in his face. We live in fear of those who are sworn to protect him. He would have no voice if there were no video. And that's exactly what happened. This young man was taking video to protect himself. That made the cops angry. They decided that they would beat him to a pulp. And yet there was video. Now the cops are going to have to explain that. Hopefully they will be taken off of the police force, but that doesn't usually happen. Look at this case. This young man was not nearly as fortunate. He didn't get a beating. He was killed. A 17-year-old was killed after a confounding police encounter during which the cops slammed him to the ground, shattered his ribs, pepper sprayed him, and shoved a sharp object down his throat. Now, this was part of a sting. They had an 18-year-old who said who was going to set him up for drugs. Probably this 18-year-old was the one who was doing drugs. They probably turned him. But basically, the police started running at him, did not identify themselves as police. They were not dressed as police. He ran. That set off their prey instinct, apparently. Just like a wild animal, you have to stand down wild animals. We've talked about this many times. Whether it's the government or whether it's the police, we have to stand up to them. When we run from them, either metaphorically or in real life, that's when they get really bad. And unfortunately, they took this young man down and they killed him. Well, maybe you're one of these people who think you have nothing to fear from the police, that you follow all the millions of laws that are out there, you don't violate anything. Well, maybe you're not counting on the surveillance state. Remember, it was just a few days ago that we reported about the lawyer who had guns pulled on him. The police pulled him over and pulled out their guns. Why? Because a license plate reader identified his car as a stolen car. Joe Biggs has more information on those license plate readers.
All right, class, open your books to page 1 of License Plate Recognition 101. Let's learn the facts about LPR. LPR means license plate recognition. It's a technology currently being used by law enforcement across the country. Here's law enforcement today without LPR.
771-746-J11.
Here's life with LPR.
License plate readers have been popping up nationwide at an alarming rate. Now, they're mounted anywhere from a cop car to an overpass, a bridge, ATMs, and even traffic stops. Vigilant Solutions is a company that claims to have the largest license plate data storage at nearly 2 billion, and they keep that in the National Vehicle Location Services. Now they say that the database is used by law enforcement and others to track down stolen vehicles, illegal immigrants, and find kidnapped victims. Now, the implementation of mass LPR data mining possesses a serious threat to personal privacy and other civil liberties. It doesn't just store your license plate data according to ACLU. It stores everything from your car's make and model, photographs of your car, driver, and a date and time. That data is then pulled into a regional sharing system. In a 2011 report by the International Association of Chiefs of Police, they stated that recording driving habits could implicate First Amendment concerns. Specifically, LPR systems have the ability to record vehicles, attendance at locations or events that, although lawful and public, may be considered private, in such locations as addiction counseling meetings, a doctor's office, or a political rally. Now, after so many of these pieces get put together, law enforcement will be able to pinpoint your exact location. Now, each city and state have different laws on the amount of time that they hold that data, ranging from anywhere from 48 hours to indefinitely. Now, the scary part is they share this information. Banks, whenever you stop at an ATM, can then take that data if you're late on a car payment and send that to a repo man and take your car. Now, if we don't get a hold of this database in some way, this opens the door for corruption. Now, cops with grudges or anyone else that has access to this data can use this against you in a serious way. We've got to find a way to regulate this and get a hold of it.